nearlydanish.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, so we're focusing on Danish values tonight. Okay, so about Danish values, the main thing is that the Danish values questions are designed to assess your understanding of two key aspects. What values are at the core of Danish norms and traditions, and what values are not at the core of Danish norms and traditions. That's all. And this is the reason why you have either yes or no. So they're not actually difficult questions. Okay? Then every question is simply asking, does the value mentioned in this question lie at the core of Danish norms and traditions or not? It's that simple. Every single question is about that. Now, what are the norms? What are at the core of Danish norms and traditions? So that's the question everybody wants to know the answer to, right? So what I did was I looked at all the Danish values questions that have been put out since, I think it's 2021, and I started categorizing them. And surprise, surprise, gender equality is number one. Of course, I wasn't surprised because if you remember, the most frequently asked question on the test is actually a question about gender equality. The next one is child protection or child rights. The one after that is freedom. So there's different types: freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of expression. Okay? Then there's questions about the low corruption in Denmark. There's questions about the high trust in public authorities in Denmark. And there's questions about Denmark being a liberal country. So the LGBTQ plus community has a lot of rights in Denmark. Okay? Now, what values are not at the core of Danish norms and traditions? There were questions I categorized under crimes against the state, domestic violence, polygamy, and certain religious traditions. You will come across such questions as we go on. Now, whenever you come across a question, so whenever you're looking at a Danish values question, okay, the main thing you should do is ask yourself, what is this question about? When you look at the question, you ask, what's this question about? Once you figure out the topic and the phrasing of the question, you will automatically be guided to the right answer. The mistake a lot of people make is they get caught up in the details of the question and they start complaining about, how are we supposed to know about this? We've never seen this in a book somewhere. It wasn't on the internet. But that's not the point. The point is for you to figure out, what is this question about? What value? What core value is this about? Okay? Now, your task in this practice session is to spot the topic of the questions. That is the task. Okay? So tonight, you're going to see a question, and the answers are the topics of the question. And we'll see how good you are. It's like a detective thing, right? We'll see how good you are at spotting the topic or the value of the that's embedded in the question. Now, of course, I can create like 10,000 questions and throw them all at you guys, but that's a waste of time. The main thing is to understand how to extract the value or the topic of the question so that any question can be thrown at you and you'll be able to spot the value. All right, let's go. What is this question about? like I said, don't get caught up in the details of the question. Okay? Ask yourself, what is the question about? And I can see a majority of you actually figure that out. It's about low corruption. So one of the values, one of the core values in Denmark is low corruption. So round of applause to the people that got this right. What is this question about? By the way, all of these questions are actually questions that have shown up in the test. I think most of them, maybe, yeah, most of them are from the actual test. So if you're doing good here, that's a very good indication that you're going to do well on the test. If you're not doing good, please, please spend some time on this, because if you fail more than one of these questions, you fail the whole test. So these questions are actually the most important questions. All right. This question is about freedom of speech within the context of the press, so the media. So what you will notice is that a topic will be chosen, say freedom of speech. And the topic of freedom of speech can be put in many different contexts. It can be put in the context of, for instance, the media, or it can be put in the context of, say, are you able to criticize someone's religion, or and so on and so forth. But the topic is always the same. It's always freedom of speech. It's just a handful of values. Okay? All right, moving on. No, okay. So someone says, so if the answer is about the values that are Danish core norms and traditions, then the answer would be yeah in the test. Okay. No. Let me go back. Let me go back so that you don't get me wrong. Step 1, figure out what the question is about. Okay? Read the question, figure out what it is about. Then figure out the phrasing of the question. So the phrasing of the question, for instance, you can ask a question like a double negative question, and they've done that before, right? What do I mean by a double negative question? A question like, is it possible to avoid going to jail if you get a suspended sentence? Right? Maybe that's not a good example, but I guess, I don't know if you understand what I mean, but a double negative question is like, it's kind of like a trick question. And there have been examples like that. So find out what the topic is, understand the question that's being asked, and it will always be a yes or a no. So it's not automatically a yes or a no. Let the question guide you. Let the topic and the phrasing of the question guide you to a yes or a no. It's only 2 options. Okay, starting again. So you notice that these questions, right? So there could be a question highlighting something that is a Danish value, and also a question highlighting something that is not a Danish value. Case in point is this one. There have been people that said, if the question starts, can you be thrown into jail for, then the answer is usually yes. But look, don't depend on those types of formulas. Actually look at the question, figure out what the topic of the question is about, understand the phrasing of the question, and let it guide you to a yes or a no. All right. I hope I'm making sense. Am I making sense? Please just give me some feedback in the chat, yeah? Next one. All right, great. All right, 147. So 3 people chose low corruption. No. And some people chose freedom of speech. This is about crimes against the state. So, and in this case, they used a very specific example of an imam that supports terrorism. So that's a crime against the state. Okay. Figure out what the question is about and let it guide you to the answer. Next one. 27 players dropped their answer streak of 3. Oh man. What happened to this sound? Come on. Anyways, next one. All right, majority of you got this right. It is not about domestic violence and it is not about gender equality. It's about child protection. And the question is asking if you could get thrown into jail if you send your kid abroad into a relationship that could actually harm them. So in Denmark, children have rights. All right. 169 people got that right. I think that's the highest number of people. Round of applause. You guys are doing well so far. If you're not doing well, not to worry, there's still what, 28 days? Still enough time to, bring up to speed to this. I'm going to, this is being recorded. I'll post this up on the YouTube channel. Watch it again. And there's also an earlier one. Watch that as well. All right, 3 players lost their answer streak of 4. I think I talked about this evening already, but let's see. Okay, so actually this question is from, I think it's the last 2 tests, and people got stuck, on the detail of what was actually going on, right? So this, can you as an individual criticize someone else's religion? Are you allowed to, or are you not allowed to? You get stuck in there and, you then end up choosing the wrong answer. Don't do that. Don't get stuck in the details. Figure out what the bigger picture is, and then look at the question, and then let it lead you to the answer. All right, next one. So I remember the first time I saw this question. This was one of the first Danish values questions that I ever saw. I think this was from 2021. I saw this and I was like, I actually don't know the answer to this. But then I thought about it. I remembered that in Denmark, gender equality is very important. And I was thinking, okay, gender equality is very important. So in the church, it has to be important as well. And I was right. So in Dansk Folkekirke, you can have female bishops. However, in the Catholic Church, there are no female bishops. So that just shows you like an example of how things are different in Denmark. All right, next one. Yes, I'm recording. All right, you guys are doing really well.
Excellent.
Round of applause. Six players hit an answer streak of 5.
Great job.
Next one. Okay, 11 people got this wrong, said it's domestic violence. It's not domestic violence. Domestic violence is when someone, well, a spouse is being violent with another spouse, regardless of whether it's a man or a woman who is the person that's initiating the violence. That's actually illegal in Denmark. Shek is back in the game with 3 in a row. My sounds are messed up tonight. Next one.
Oh my! He's on fire!
Yes, the topics are in English. I chose to do it that way. But anyways, yes, so a lot of you actually got this wrong. This this specific word threw a lot of people off. So this was one of the questions that appeared in one of the very first Danish values questions. And this word, a lot of people didn't know what that meant, so they chose the wrong answer. It's basically a religious marriage ceremony of a child in Denmark. And of course, that's illegal. In Denmark, you can't get married up until you're 18 years old. So if you notice the age that you've seen the most here is 15, 15, 15. This is actually the first one that didn't have the age here, but it's specified here that it's a child. So in this, the topic here is child protection. So I guess I need to mention this. Sometimes they do throw in some weird words in there. Don't panic if you see one of those. The good news is that the Danish values questions are actually also beginning to repeat themselves. So if you practice with all the previous tests since 2021, you would start seeing, one question repeating itself in 3 tests and stuff like that. So that's good news. All right, next one. This one should be obvious. All right, We almost got 100% on this. Round of applause. Next one. Similar to the question we saw before. All right, you guys are getting better and better. This should be obvious. Let's see if we can get 100% in this. It's actually stated in the question. Okay, Lee Stilling. All right, next one. We have a static top 5.
Static top 5.
This should be obvious as well. All right. Anna P84 is the highest climber up 4 places.
Excellent.
We've got 13 questions to go. You know the answer to this, but let's see. Okay, so it's not domestic violence. Remember, domestic violence is between spouses. And that's not mentioned here. This is freedom of choice. So you can't force someone to marry someone that they don't want to marry. All right, next one. Okay, so Anpet has a streak with 15 correct answers in a row, I think. If I'm not mistaken. Is that 100%? Okay, I don't think so. Anyways, Val is number 1, Ampet is number 2, Mitch 3, Kawa is 4, and Simona is 5. This one is for Ampet.
Oh my! He's on fire!
Next one. Okay, this is an example of something that is not a Danish value. And so in Islam, you are allowed to marry more than one wife. Whereas in Denmark, it's actually illegal. So how many people got this wrong? 16 people got this wrong.
Now you know what you don't know.
Get it right next time. We have a static top 5.
Static top 5.
Next one. I think you've already seen this tonight. Or something similar. About gender equality again. Okay, next one. Okay, so this question, I think this question, when this question was asked, you had to choose. It wasn't a yes and no question. You had to choose the authority that could forbid a foreigning that achieved its goals with violence. And one of the clues was actually I'll show you after this. So we have Val, Ampet, Mish, Simona, and Kawa. Demon is back with an answer streak of 3.
Excellent.
Yes, we're going to have real Danish values questions, real answers. I'm just showing you how to approach it. Okay. Next one. Okay, so in INDFØDSRETSPRØVEN November 2021, under current affairs, this question actually showed up. And the answer was Højesteret. So loyal to familiar was basically scrapped and forbidden. So they basically took this question and restructured it and made it the Danish values question. So it's good to pay attention to the current affairs questions from the previous years, because those could also be restructured. All right. You've seen this. I'm hoping you all get this right. Let's get one explosion tonight. Okay, 4 people got that wrong. We have a static top 5.
Static top 5.
Almost at the end now. All right, that's contrast with religious tradition. So in Judaism, there's the tradition of, I think it's called kosher, and in Islam, there's the tradition of the tradition of halal. And they're saying, basically, they're asking, according to Danish law, can you require that all the meat served in daycare centers must either be kosher or halal? And that's a no, according to Danish law. All right, next one. Big Mac is the highest climber up 4 places.
Great job.
All right, Denmark is a liberal country. And this question is about that. Actually, first time I saw this, I didn't know the real answer to it. But when I thought about it, I was like, it's got to be a yes. Next one. You know the answer to this as well. All right, we almost got 100%. Okay, we've had a static top 5 for like 5 questions. Val, Anpet, Mitch, Simona, and Kawa.
Static top 5.
Anna P, 84, 3 in a row.
Excellent.
Next one. Domestic violence. All right. 12 people got that wrong. Static top 5 still. Okay. Crimes against the state. So it looks like you guys are doing well. Triple S is the highest climber, up 6 places. We still have a static top 5. 2 questions to go. Yeah, it's coming. Okay. So this was a question in the previous test in May, the last test in May. And one of the answer options, so there was 18, 15, and 21, I think, can't remember exactly. And this is one of those questions where you could get stuck in the details and, oh, I actually don't know the answer to this question. But if you think about it, right, remember that in all the previous questions, you would see the age 15, 15, 15, right? And if you think about, okay, this has got to be about one of those values, and this has got to be about something about child protection, and it will lead you to the answer. So I predict there's going to be more questions like that, because I think they're running out of these types of Danish values questions. And of course, if you start repeating the questions, then they're useless. But anyways, moving on. So more and more, the skill of being able to actually detect the answer is going to become more important than what question is being asked. Anyways, we've got Val, Ampet, Mitch, Simona, Teddy. Maria Hannah is back with an answer streak of 3.
Great job.
Next one. So this was an actual question from the test in May. So in this question, they said it's how much trust do the people in Denmark have that the police will help them if there's something wrong, right? And then they put some percentages, 55%, 65%, 85%. And they said it's according to some reports. Now, if you haven't read that report, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, I don't know what it is, but when you think about it, okay, what the question is trying to tell you is that there is very high trust in public authorities in Denmark, right? So that will lead you to the highest. I think the answer was 85%. So that's why it's important to actually, understand what the topics are so it can lead you to the answer. Okay, so that was it. Let's have a look at that podium. This question was not a yes or no question exactly. Let me see, what else are these people saying? All right. Podium. We got Simona. We got Ampet. All right, and we got Val, Mitch, and I think the think tank at number 4.
NearlyDanish.com.